Hi everyone! I recently got my private pilot license here in California, and in this video I will share how long it took me, the challenges I faced, how much it cost, and of course tips and tricks for beginners in aviation. Let's get started. I had been thinking about flying for a long time, but I only started training in January 2024. Before choosing a school, I decided to explore different airports and try flying several types of airplanes. In the end, I chose Van Nuys, one of the largest airports in the US for general aviation. I decided to train on a Cessna 172 with a wings overlaid flight school. We met with the school owner, discussed all the details, and I took the first step by signing up for introductory flight.
The introductory flight is a great opportunity to experience your first flight with an instructor, explore the school, and ask all your questions. This step helps you understand if the school and training process are a good fit for you and how comfortable you feel during the flight.
I was also guided in choosing the type of certificate I wanted to get. Apparently, there are several options, each with its own requirements. I decided to focus on obtaining a private pilot certificate.
The main requirements for obtaining a private pilot certificate are at least 40 flight hours, including 10 hours solo, passing the written exam, and completing a check ride with an examiner.
Before starting my training, I purchased some basic equipment, David Clark headphones, iPad mini, and later, Sentry ADSB device. The Sentry was especially useful for tracking traffic and weather. All of these items turns out to be essential during my flight training and helped make my flight more comfortable and safer.
After the introductory flight, I started flying regularly and preparing for the theoretical exam. Written exam is a test that checks your knowledge of basic aviation topics. In April, I signed up for the exam and passed it with a score of 73%. By the way, the minimum passing score is 70%.
These three books help me prepare Pilot's Handbook of Aeronautical Knowledge, Federal Aviation Regulation, and Airman Certification Standards. I also learn a lot from periodic ground lesson with my instructor and an online course from Sportis. So, after gradually building up nearly 60 flight hours, I still hadn't completed my first solo flight. This pushed me to discuss the situation with my instructor and school owner. After our conversation, we decided to fly with a different instructor, and after all, it was the right decision.
I did my first solo flight on August 6, 2024, after reaching 65 total flight hours. It was an unforgettable moment. By the way, I have a separate video about it on my channel. Be sure to check it out.
For cross-country flight practice, I completed several routes, including flight to Bakersfield, Porterville, and Santa Barbara. And finally, I completed all the necessary requirements, and the exam was scheduled for December.
The exam consists of two main parts, theory and practical. During the theoretical part, we discussed basic questions in flight planning, and the whole process took about 2 hours. After a short break, we moved on to the practical part. During the flight, I had to demonstrate various maneuvers and perform different types of landings. The practical part took about an hour. At the end of the flight, the examiner told me that I had passed the exam.
So, my journey to obtaining the license took about a year and 109 flight hours. And now I will talk about the most interesting part, how much it all costs. It all started with an intro flight which cost me $200. After that, I had to purchase some basic equipment for training. I chose David Clark headphones, which cost $380.
For navigation and working with maps, I got an iPad mini for $250. Of course, you can't do without ForeFlight. That was an additional $125 for the basic subscription. To monitor traffic and weather, I purchased a Sentry ADSB for $599. I also needed 3 essential books, which totaled about $50. For solo flights, I had to get aircraft insurance, which cost $430. Additionally, I needed to pass a medical exam, which came to $200.
To prepare for the written test, I used an online course from Sportis, which cost about $300. The test itself, taken at Certified Testing Center, was another $175.
Aircraft rental and instructor fees. I flew a Cessna 172, which cost $140 per hour to rent, plus $70 per hour for the instructor. In total, I logged 84 hours with an instructor and another 25 hours solo. The final stage was the check ride, for which I paid the examiner $850.
I also had some small expenses, but the total cost my training was about 25,000. Yes, my journey was far from perfect, and I know it's possible to make it more efficient. Now that I've been through the process, I can share tips on how to save money, shorten your training time, and make the experience smoother. Let's take a look at that. The first tip I can give to anyone starting their journey in aviation is to visit a few different schools and take an intro flight. It's a great way to see if being a pilot is really for you. You can also take a look at the planes, which can differ a lot in things like wing placement, control, size, and how modern they are, and of course, compare prices.
Second tip is set a goal for what type of certificate you want to get. If possible, plan your budget for the training ahead of time and ensure you have enough free time over the next 3 to 4 months. Training takes a lot of time and effort, but if you stay consistent and study regularly, you'll save money and see results much faster.
Next tip, learn the theory on your own. If you want to achieve faster and cheaper results, study on your own and only discuss the tricky or unclear question with your instructor. There are tons of great online ground school resources. For example, I use Sportis and practice there before taking the written test. This can save you several $1,000s.
One more tip is be open about your questions, concerns, and challenges with your instructor. If you're not understanding something or if progress has slowed down, don't be afraid to try a different instructor. It doesn't mean you're a bad student or that the instructor is bad. It's just how things go sometimes, and it could actually work out better for everyone in the long run.
And please be patient. If something is not working, keep trying and don't give up. The main thing is to enjoy the process and you will reach out your goal. Subscribe to the channel, let's discuss the tricky moment in the comments and see you in the sky.